Hello there. How's it going? Alright, we're gonna delve into another aspect of COVID 19. And that is what else is going on in the media? What's the other big story? I didn't want to make any videos about Black Lives Matter, to be perfectly honest with you, because I don't care for the movement. I think the media gives it way more attention than it deserves, and there's a lot of hypocrisy in the subject. Okay, Black Lives Matter. Um, it's a metaphor for the bigger story. Um, the blacks in America, in particular, they weren't always, treated very well. That's true, but a lot of people weren't treated very well. And the blacks in America have a higher standard of living than, let's say, the blacks in Africa, or the Indians in India, or the factory workers in China, or the uh, native Indians in places in Canada and the United States. They have a higher standard of living. And it isn't actually too terribly difficult for them to improve their lives. It's called trying. You try. Put a little effort into it. I mean, it's the white man system. Yes, I understand that. But you can get a regular job that pays the bills, and if you apply yourself, you can get a better job that pays the bills. The ready access of food is not much of a problem even for homeless black people. It is very, very, very hypocritical for the blacks in America who go, oh, what about me, what about me, what about me? Fuck you. There are people who have black hair and probably darker complexions, especially in India and in Asia and Africa, that have it way worse than you. And I don't like the white alibiers who figure, oh, well, if I just go with the flow and pretend for 15 minutes that I actually care, therefore, when the blacks in America get what they want, which is absurd demands, they want reparations and all that sort of stuff, that somehow those whites are exempt from that. That's rubbish. They're not getting that. I mean, it's a fact. They're not. But it's a metaphor for the bigger problem there is out there. And the blacks in America would not have nearly anywhere close to the momentum that they have now if not for other white people who figure if they sell out other white people, that makes them better people. No, it doesn't. It makes you a piece of trash. But let's talk to about a more significant world power out there. That would be China. What China does every single hour of every single day is a monotone demand. What do they want? Do they want more US dollars? Yes, but US dollars are worth whatever the powers that be say they're worth. What can they get with those US dollars is what's important. And what they want, I suspect, is more food product. Beef. In North America, there are 106 million cattle. Way more than we need. Way more. It does contribute to global warming because they like to fart a lot. So that we'll leave aside. However, in the beginning, when the Americans started dealing with China in regards to them manufacturing things that we didn't want to make over here because we noticed how bad it was for the environment around us, they didn't actually pay them very much or give them anything. In fact, they did so little amount that it's no wonder China came out with garbage. All their products were all garbage in the beginning and arguably are still today. Oh, actually, they definitely are. But anyway, they weren't paid anything. They were essentially slaves. They still are. And this didn't have to happen. There are a lot of junk parts of meat that usually end up in hot dogs and things like that. We didn't need those things. We could have shipped those out to Asia, and they would have had a better mindset. It won't work now because now they're going, well, we want your tenderloin. That's a problem because we don't want to sell our tenderloin to them. We don't want to give it to them, and we don't want to be, blackmailed into giving it to them. But they still make that demand every single day. There are other food products that they get from Eastern Europe, mainly wheat for their noodles. In many parts of Asia, they use really bad stuff for their production of their meat industry, their vegetables, their fish industry, and now they're sending out ships everywhere to grab as much fish as possible. The South China Sea, that's a big one. They say that it belonged to them since ancient times. No, actually, you're a big bully and you just want to steal it. That's what it is. And I've said this before, there is no satiating this giant dragon. This dragon is going to take as much as it can, and it doesn't matter if you're nice to it or not. It doesn't play fair, and it doesn't forgive, and it's actually got a fairly good memory. And it knows a lot about, politics and how to get people to do things, which is why they have a system where 99.9% of them are slaves. Willingly slaves. Whereas, again, the blacks in America, you can go buy a damn cheeseburger. It's not difficult for you to do that. You're a factory worker. Guess what? You're probably eating stuff that's comparable to gulag food. So it's very, very, very selfish of the blacks in America to go, oh, the white man, blah, 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 blah. Shut up. Not difficult for you to improve your lives. Why don't you just try behaving for a while? Anyway, so that's part of the big trade war, is that China is continually making demands that they want more and more and more and more. And that's one simple thing that they want is the food industry, for more of it to go their way, so they can appear to be more prosperous. It's in ancient scripture, probably, that, being prosperous means having lots of food around, and, it genuinely makes you look better if you have lots of food around. So they make this big attempt to make it look like they got food everywhere and all that sort of stuff. And they eat gross things like bugs. There's no dignity in eating a bug or a spider. They try to say, oh, it's a delicacy. Oh, you're an ignorant white man. You don't know. And it's like, no, that's a bug. It's not going to taste good, no matter what you do. And it's ugly. It'll never compare to a nice strip loin. It can't compare to beef. But they don't have the means to produce enough cattle for their populace, which would be a sign of prosperity. So they're trying to muscle in on our industry. They also want more resources. And to get those resources, they belong in certain parts of the world, particularly Africa. But, South America has quite a bit of oil. That's useful. And the Russians have some natural gas, which is kind of useful too. But the Russians are no pushovers. So that was, you can't go there and take it from them. You have to do business with them. And I gotta tell you, the Russians are not the kind of people you want to do business with. this whole, oh, let's live in a socialist utopia, left wing, what it's morphed into anyway. Its original concepts are long forgotten. What it means is everyone's standard of living in Canada or the United States, will decrease in order to do what is noble and right in their opinion. And it's like I said, if there are people out there, and they most certainly are, who feel as though that they're social justice warriors, and if they're doing what's right, why should they have to suffer the consequences of their standard of living going down? And it's like, no. They need more revenue than the so-called bad white people. They need all of our revenue, all of our resources to even come close to satiating their insatiable demands. 106 million cattle is more than enough for North America. It's not for the world. It's not enough food, not by a long shot. But still, they demand it. And to even pretend that they're even getting a fair portion in their mind anyway, their population's way out of control and they don't deserve the beef. The industry would have to increase tenfold. There would have to be 1 billion cattle, and we don't have the space for that many cattle. As vast as North America is, and with a more reasonable population. So all those Black Lives Matter protesters who really are looking for an excuse to riot, and it's a big party for them, and they're there because they feel that what they're doing is against the system and that makes them better people. And again, like I said, therefore in the future they feel as though that they shouldn't have to be punished as much as the bad white guys. And it's not exactly the truth. It isn't at all. I mean, it's a sad state of affairs. I mean, ideally there would things would be a lot more reasonable, but we live in a very unreasonable world still. And this topic should not be dominating the television. It does, because the people who run TV are a bunch of dirty sellouts who would say anything, and they'll try and brainwash the population into thinking, well, that's what they've got to do. And it gets to the point where, let's say you see a 200-pound black guy and he starts getting mad at you for Black Lives Matter kind of stuff. And it's like, well, you're kind of well fed, so I don't think you're really suffering, are you? And if you're making these demands to my face, is it because it's what's right, or is it because you want to beat me up? I think it's because you're a bully, if you want to know the truth. I don't think it's because you feel oppressed. I mean, if you were the blacks in Africa who are skin and bone, if you actually gave a damn about them, which you don't, then you might have some cause, but you kind of don't. Your quality of life is far better here than it is in other places of the world for other peoples. And I'm sick of this hypocritical stance on how power should be distributed. I'm sorry that things aren't entirely fair. But does that mean I support causes that don't benefit me at all? Absolutely not. So yeah, I've given you some things to think about here, okay? There are people who are way worse off than the people in North America. And even if you're in the dirtiest of gutters, if you apply yourself, if you have all your mental faculties, then you can improve your life. Like, okay, you live in Baltimore. Baltimore's a shitty city. You could move out of Baltimore if you tried. If you really tried, you could move out of there and start your life somewhere else in the United States, because you, in theory, would be a United States citizen. As an example. Life's not as complicated as people like to think it is. And, still a lot of things to sort out, but, this is like a pendulum. How are things gonna go? And I gotta tell you, I am wary of sneaky, not obvious things coming out of left field that it could be game changers. And right now, all I hear is big, loud idiots who are making demands, and they really don't have the moral authority to do so based on their own behavior. I mean, yes, it's sad that the factory workers in China, live such bleak and abysmal lives, but their own government and their crackdown on them, and what they've done to them, they're the real bad guys. But right now, the white man's the bad guy. That's the way the narrative says it. And nobody's a good guy. That's the damn truth. Anyway, talk to people later. Have a good night.